everybody. In today's video, I'm going to go in depth on painting animal fur. This is going to be on a canvas. If you watched my video from a couple weeks ago where I painted a realistic tabby, at the end I had offered to just go in depth on animal fur and a little bit more specifics on how I personally like to do this. And there's a million ways to do it. Everybody has their own personal style. There's different techniques. If you have never painted fur, I would recommend watching not only my video, which thank you for that, but also all kinds of other videos. There are so many out there and everybody has different tricks, different tips that they can share with you. So I hope this helps you out. I really like the way that I personally do it. I find it to be very effective, fairly quick, and it just is really pleasing to me. So I hope you like it, and don't forget to click subscribe so my future videos as well.
To start with, I'm just going to take the colors that are very similar to what my cat's coloration is, and I'm going to add a base coat to cover all of the white of my canvas. As you can see, I have a grid going across to make sure that when I was sketching, I had everything lined up properly. I just want to make sure all of those lines are pretty much blocked in and that the white's gone. White is not something you want to sneak through your painting at the end in even the tiniest amounts. Just make sure that gets completely covered up. After that first base layer of color is in, I'm going to blend in the start of some of the, like the wrinkles in the fur and some of the different color patterns. And I'm going to do that wet on wet, just right on top. This is non-specific. This isn't something that I am paying too close of attention to. This is fun. This is like the happy-go-lucky stage of painting fur. This is, the part where you can always fix whatever happens. And so it's not that big a deal. Try to just kind of take it easy and just go with the flow. Once you have a good amount of all of your colors in, you have a good start, then you can go through and start doing some of the more close-up, detailed areas of the soft focus. Using a brush that is definitely bigger than what an individual strand of fur is, and a color that is lighter than what I used in the beginning. So use a color that's slightly darker than the area that you're painting. I'm going to use soft, small strokes and add in some of those areas of the fur that are kind of like rolled or some split areas. And then in between them, I'm going to add a darker shade to shade in between them. Just go through, and anytime I'm doing fur texture, the things to pay attention to are the directions of hair growth. Sometimes something that helps if you have an area of an animal or of a person or whatever it is that you're painting that's furry that is going in different directions, like say maybe rolling over this arm, it goes down in one direction and then the other direction. I will do one area and then I'll leave a gap and I'll focus on what direction the fur in that spot is going. And I will do different sections and I'll kind of split up where I'm going. And then in between them, you can fill in and create the transition from one direction to the other. I find that's really beneficial, and especially in the case of this cat in this chest area, you've got the two arms going over, you've got the chest hair that's going towards a center point. You have a lot of different directions of fur growth and fur direction that it's kind of helpful to pick apart and do little kind of steps and clues along the way. And then when you do the rest of it and you fill in, it's sort of a connect the dots. And anytime you're painting fur texture like this, you have to pay attention to the texture of the fur. Is it soft? Is it coarse? And then try to use that knowledge to help you convey it. This is a very soft cat, so the movements should be nice and smooth. If it was a wiry fur, you'd want to use kind of jagged motions with your hand instead of soft flowing motions. And the length. Is this long hair, short hair? And does the hair clump together? Sometimes fur will sort of clump and it'll grab itself. I know my cat Mozzie, the back of him, his fur is always in like little clumps together. And all of that knowledge will make a difference in how you are painting it and what kind of movement your hand is going to make. But to start with, just in a general painting fur, it's really great to keep in mind how long each strand is and how long that make a difference on how long your brush strokes are, and then what direction the fur is going. All of that other knowledge is something that you can kind of apply as you get comfortable with the first part of this process. So, take it easy on yourself in the beginning, and then as you continue to paint and get more comfortable with it, then you can start looking for more things to apply to make your painting even more realistic of exactly who it is that you're trying to paint. So now that I've got I've got a lot of those darker lines that were kind of my guide for what direction my fur growth is going in, I'm going to go back with my lighter color and I'm going to add the highlighting areas. When I'm painting fur like this, I try to grab my palette with all the different colors I may possibly need and then slowly mix them together so that I have multiple gradations of the colors that I am using. So instead of just using the same color over and over again, I will, in areas like towards like the armpit of the cat, I will get them to be a little darker. I'll add in just a touch of a dark gray or a black or even a darker shade of brown just to darken that a little bit and just go through and add some of those different shades in there. After I've got a lot of this lighter color blended in, you may go through and with a brighter shade, add some highlights to it, or with a darker shade on certain areas, go through and darken it a little bit. Add multiple layers. Don't be afraid to paint over something you just painted so that you can either bring it forward or push it back. Now I'm going to go through with that darker shade and just kind of fill it in, add any areas that really need to get shaded or blended. If there seems to be a harsh transition from one color to another, mix those two colors that you use together on your palette and then use that as a blending layer and go over the top of the transition from one to the next. Using diluted black paint, and I'm going to just take and I'm going to run my brush right along the areas that there is a layer behind. So that one arm is in front, so on the chest I'm going to just shade that in behind. The last thing to finish off this fur texture is I'm going to take a very fine brush and white paint, and I'm going to add some fur pieces that are going very precise and in front of all of the rest. Those lines are because light is going to pick up on certain strands of hair and they are going to just look white when the light glistens off of them. Depending on the color of cat you're painting or the color of animal you're painting, you may not want to use a bright white, but because this is in general a lighter shade of cat, the light, once it reflects off those strands that are sticking up, are just going to shine nice and brightly colored. Add those precise lines. So I like to think of this in 3 layers. That first layer of painting, that is your completely blurred background. That has no detail at all. That second layer is your soft focus. There is some color variation. That's where you're getting your fur direction. And then that third layer is the pinpoint focus. I like using those 3 layers. I think that gives me a beautiful result. Here's the whole painting. If you'd like to watch a time-lapse video of the entire painting from start to finish, I can put a link to that in the description box below. If you have any questions on the way I go about this or anything else painting or nail art related, don't hesitate to let me know, and I will see you all next time. Bye!